Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. We're just going to wait for a couple more minutes for people to get started, and then we'll get going.
Are we supposed to be quiet?
Well, everybody can hear everything that you say, so
I
yeah.
know, yeah.
We should have some waiting
I
music.
just want to reward the people who tuned in early. Um,
With some Dave.
oh no, maybe Aaron.
Hmm. Anyone know any good jokes? Any good knock jokes?
Oh, let's not do
Bad
that.
jokes.
Carlo probably knows a couple.
How about dad jokes? So a guy came to the door the other day. He was looking for a contribution for the community pool. So I gave him a glass of water.
Yeah, do your
Fair
part, you
enough.
know.
But this is the perfect reaction to that joke. So
Um,
Aaron, I have a question. One dad to another with similar age kids. Is your son talking about like alpha, Riz, sigma? Like, does he talk?
He knows the language, but refers to it all as brain rot. So thankfully, I think we're on the same page, him and I. But I'll catch him occasionally in Minecraft or something using the slang of the day. So
All right,
yeah, it's not fun.
it's not.
No.
All right, I think that's enough early banter. We'll get started now. So just to let everyone know, we are recording this. This is live. So if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A. We'll try to get them. We might touch on those in line as we're going through this, and we might save some of them for the end, or we might answer them just right within that Q&A chat thing. So it depends on the kind of question and how relevant we think it is for the rest of the audience, whether we'll break in and change things. So anyway, thank you so much for joining. This is top 5 tips for operationalizing CTI. It's insights from some of our Feedly experts. Now, one of the reasons, the thought behind this talk was that we have these great TI advisors. They came from industry. They had CTI jobs, most of them, or they've been working in Feedly CTI for a number of years. And we wanted to think, what are some of the tips that you find that would help some of the customers or prospects that are brand new to Feedly, or maybe it was from one of your previous jobs, something you found difficult, and how did you go about doing it then, and how do you go about doing it with Feedly? So that's kind of the genesis for this. We'll have each one of these threat intel advisors take us through what their personal choice of a best practice was, or what their tip was, if you will, and then we'll try to answer your questions as much as possible as we go through this. So without any further, oh, by the way, I'm just Sean, the marketing guy, who's here to host this and keep people moving through their sections. So here's our agenda. We're first going to talk about understanding and leveraging PIRs, so priority intelligence requirements, and Aaron's going to take that topic. The next, we're going to talk about prioritizing vulnerabilities, and Andy is going to cover that. Our next topic is planning relevant threat hunts, and Denise, who used to do this at her job, we'll talk about that. Dave is going to cover analyzing geopolitical events using AI. And Carlo is going to talk about how you can simplify report building. That's one of the tasks that he had to do a lot at his previous job. And then a bonus is going to be sharing intelligence through the API. So before we get started, since you don't know some of these folks, and by the way, the other thing is we always hear how great our TI advisors are. We used to call them CSMs, customer success managers. Either way, they're awesome resource for our customers. You can reach out to them. You can ask them questions at any time. They're kind of your resource to get the most out of Feedly when you're working with Feedly. And a lot of people don't really understand how great of a resource this is until they've already become a customer. And then they say, hey, you need to advertise this more. Well, this is kind of our way of giving a little visibility to some of the great people we have here. So let me first do a little round robin. We have a little get to know them question thing that I like to call finish the sentence. And so I'm going to run through really quickly. All you TI advisors, get off your mute button and be ready to answer the question because we go quickly on these. So the first question is, what was your favorite CTI topic to research? Andy, you go first.
Probably doing IOC scraping, which shameless plug Feedly does. Yeah.
Denise.
Probably identifying and investigating and profiling threat actors. It gave me this FBI secret agent feel every time I did it.
All right. So speaking of FBI secret agent, Dave, what was your favorite thing to investigate?
I like the detection rules, like getting deep into the procedures with MITRE ATT&CK. That's always been fun. So,
Carlo.
Oh, wow. Okay, a few years ago, I was tracking a malware campaign where the malware would make the user's web browser open a particular link. And for those that know me, it was very close to heart there. It involved a particular song.
Be careful of links from Carlo. Yes, you might get rickrolled. And and Aaron, what's a topic that you like to research?
Yeah, I've really enjoyed working with the API in Feedly. No surprise there. But automations and monitoring changes and things across the landscape and automating that into other tools is kind of what I've been really excited about lately.
Okay, awesome. So we're going to jump right into the topics. That's all I'm going to cover. I'll save our guys from one thing. So the first thing I wanted to cover before I get into all the topics is I do need to do a little plug for Feedly. So if you're not familiar with Feedly, Feedly is an open source intelligence collection, analysis, and dissemination tool. So we help teams really make sense of everything that's out there on the internet that is all these massive amounts of information. You can filter that down to just the kind of things that you're interested in. So when Aaron talks about priority intelligence requirements, they'll talk about how you can, if you're only interested in threat actors in your particular industry who and what TTPs they have, you can create a feed that is just related to that. If you're interested in things that are just the vulnerabilities that in your tech stack, you can create a feed for that. So it allows you to really come down to a set of feeds, a set of intelligence that is coming to you that is very tailored to your particular needs. And then we enrich all that information. So we enrich it. We pull out all the IOCs and the CVEs and the TTPs, and we raise them up to the level that you can quickly see them. You can export them. You can click into other things like threat actor insights cards or TTP or malware cards or vulnerability cards that give you a 360-degree view of all the information that's available about that particular threat actor or malware, etc. And we also allow you to share that information very easily with your tools, with your team. You can send newsletters or post things in Slack, or you can integrate directly with your teams. And Aaron will talk a little bit about the API and how you can do some of that at the end. So with that, the last thing I'll say is you can get a free trial. You can go out to feedly.com/threat-intelligence. I think Gabby will put a link into the Q&A or into the chat there. And that's a way to get started with a free 7-day trial. You don't have to talk to anybody. If you want to extend that to 30 days, then just reach out and ask for a demo of that. And one of our expert salespeople will give you some tips on how to get started and get you set up for a 30-day trial. So with that said, we're going to jump into the first topic. First topic is for Aaron. Aaron, go ahead, take over.
Cool. Thanks, Sean. Hey, everybody. My name is Aaron. I've been a threat intel advisor with Feedly for the past 3 years. Worked with well over 100 teams at this point in time, many different sectors, helping teams kind of get the most out of Feedly. In that work, one of the things that came up fairly regularly early on was how can we map priority intelligence requirements to Feedly to be able to track these specific requirements that we have. So if you're not familiar with priority intelligence requirements, I've got a definition here on the screen, but it's basically a framework that will allow you to be able to work with stakeholders and really kind of clearly identify what their needs are, which kind of helps eliminate guesswork and ensure that we're delivering the correct intelligence in a timely and efficient manner to those stakeholders. So if I go to the next slide here, you can see on that slide too, before I guess I move on, apologize, Sean, but on that slide, we do have a free resource available. A lot of free resources available that we can share in the chat as well about priority intelligence. This is a blueprint that one of our colleagues, Josh, made that kind of helps us define and map and have some examples on what PIRs look like. That said, if we go to the next slide, I'll discuss a little bit about the framework, kind of 4 phases here. Number 1, as I mentioned, stakeholder interview, just collaborating with your stakeholders, making sure that you're understanding exactly the types of intelligence that they want to collect. The second stage here would be kind of setting the priority level amongst those particular requirements. The next stage there would be distribution, determining if we want to share via Slack or Teams or newsletter, kind of defining how they want to receive the intelligence. And then the last stage here is review, which is setting up time to make sure that we're reviewing with those stakeholders to make sure that they are liking the intelligence that they're getting and like the way that they're receiving it. So it's kind of the 4 stages. What we're going to do though is I'm going to do a bit of a live demo to map and show you how you could track intelligence requirements in Feedly on an ongoing basis. So Sean, if you hit the next slide there, one of the intelligence requirements that we hear commonly from customers are tracking TTPs. So, techniques, procedures, trying to see which CTPs are being used during ransomware attacks, targeting a specific sector. For this example, we'll choose the healthcare sector, but in Feedly, you'd be able to define those sectors pretty easily. So to do this, what I'll do is I will send a request to Sean to share my screen, and I will be able to share my desktop and show you how you can track that intelligence requirements in Feedly. Great. So as I mentioned, looking at Feedly here, what I would do is to monitor on an ongoing basis, I'd use a feature that we have called AI feeds. So to set this up, I can click on the AI button. Which gives me this menu here to create some Boolean operators to track across the web. We're connected to about 140 million different sources across the web. But for this example, what we wanted to do was to track ransomware and TTPs. So I'll just type in ransomware. And as you can see here from the suggestion, the menu is suggesting that I use this AI model. And an AI model is basically a machine learning natural language processing model that we created that monitors ransomware. And in this case, you can also see that we have a connection with Malpedia partnership where we're bringing in ransomware, but also all 2065 other malware families and aliases that are stored in Malpedia. We've got that connection. So when there are new ransomwares discovered, we don't have to know all the names and all the aliases. This model will automatically update with all that information to make it a lot easier for us to track. So if I go ahead and click ransomware, and then we wanted to also track healthcare industry. So another AI model, understanding the healthcare industry and all of the companies and businesses inside of that. And then the last operator that I want to add here would be TTPs. And again, I mentioned that we have tactics and techniques and procedures with MITRE and our integration to version 16.1, which is current. So as you can see here, I've got these Boolean operators looking for articles in ransomware, healthcare industry, and the article has to contain TTPs. And I'm looking inside the cybersecurity bundle, which is about 5,000 of the most trusted sources across the web. And as you can see here, just from this little setup, I'm seeing articles that contain ransomware and healthcare, ransomware, healthcare, and they also contain the TTPs inside. So that's how you could set that up. You would then maybe save it to a folder, which I have here already set up, which TTPs are using to target the healthcare sector. And then I also mentioned a little bit about that sharing. So from this particular output, when I met with my stakeholder, they could say, hey, I want to know every time one of these articles comes through immediately. From here, I could click on the 3 dots and go to to our sharing menu and say, hey, let's send that to a Slack channel or a Microsoft Teams channel so that they would be notified immediately when these new articles come through. Or you could set up a newsletter to be able to send this on a daily or weekly basis, depending on the intelligence requirement. So that covers intelligence requirements at a very high level. Obviously, there's many different more intelligence requirements that we could map. But that said, thank you for the time and looking forward to hearing more from Andy, and he's going to discuss vulnerabilities.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, Aaron. And as Aaron mentioned, I'll be taking over for vulnerabilities. CTI analyst, doing everything from automation to working in GRC, some process improvement. Most recently, I was in a vulnerability management role in my previous company, supporting both DoD, Defense Industrial Base, as well as education. So a little bit of background on me. So what's the problem that we're trying to fix here, right? So there's just so many vulnerabilities. As we saw with last year and the years before, there's only just been a steady increase, right? 40,000 CVEs last year were reported. About 1% of them were still weaponized. I mean, even if you just look at the screenshot here that I have from NVD's dashboard, obviously as a few days ago, right, something about 22,000 still in the queue to even be processed. Now, it's not me ragging on NVD. It's just kind of the state of where we're at right now in this space. And so really just want to show hey, there's just an absolute massive volume of vulnerabilities out there. And so how do we go about prioritizing that, right? Or how would we as it is right now? So slide. So as of right now, right, you would probably start with either your vulnerability scans, right, starting from the top left, kind of cascading down here, right? So you'd probably start at Nessus or Rapid7 or whoever your vulnerability scanner of choice is. Prioritize further. So then you'd have to go and research, go to maybe the Microsoft security advisories, go to space and had to write any sort of what we called a rapid threat assessment, write any of this kind of information or create some sort of reporting around it. How tiresome it can be to have to go to various vendors and see, is this even affected by this, and what's possibly the impact, what's the mitigation. And so with that, I'm actually going to show you how we can do it here in Feedly. So I'm going to try and share my screen. Top trending vulnerability into specific things, you can just get a quick glance here. So you can go ahead and click on a lot of things here in Feedly, a lot of
So Andy, we're having a tough time with him. Does somebody else want to step in and kind of take over the the vulnerability discussion?
I'm gonna try to turn off my video, maybe.
This is proof that it's live. That's all. Keep talking, Andy, so we know that you're there. But if you you look frozen and we can't hear you. So Dave, do you want to just give a quick you want to share your screen and maybe show a couple things about the vulnerability side? You're on mute too.
Yeah, there we go. All these technical issues. Yep, it's definitely live. Let me go here. Let me get back into Feedly quick. Can you see my screen okay?
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah, so with vulnerability intelligence, there's a lot of stuff that can be very complicated to tackle. So Feedly tries to make it a little bit easy. Starting at the threat landscape board dashboard, you can see the top 5 vulnerabilities currently being featured across all of our content that we're curating. So if you see a CVE ID, you can click on it and basically just pivot into that. And so you can have a detailed insight card that talks about very high, very specifically the impact of a particular vulnerability, the score, EPSS. There's a lot of data available here. And then I think the coolest thing to highlight is the timeline. The timeline has a bunch of different milestones that Feedly automatically tracks more or less real time. And we track things like POCs, CVSS scores, if it's high, even if threat intel reports are written about that vulnerability, or when it gets, there's a proof of concept. So lots of really cool things to feature here, even detection vulnerability scanners. But this is very like micro-focused, so we might want to step back and look holistically. And so that's where the vulnerability dashboard comes in. So here you can create your own dashboard based on vulnerability intelligence, and you can pick a certain time frame. You can do custom. You can look, 30 days or so. It just depends on your criteria. And this is really cool because you can adapt this to match your own company's risk profile. So if you have specific thresholds it would take to perform action, to perform some type of emergency patching, you can set that here. And so you can pick a time filter, trending, and then you can also look for specifically not just trending, but brand new vulnerabilities within the past 7 days. We're going to do 30 days just to make sure that there's data. And then you can also pick things out of a proof of concept, exploited. So you can see you're whittling down the vulnerability intel, which can be overwhelming, into more actionable data. And so you can kind of build this as you wish. Really powerful feature is also adding custom lists of your own vendors. So you can do that too, or you can pick it here. We'll pick on Apple just for fun. Microsoft gets picked on a lot. You can see you can add multiple vendors, for example, here. And then this is where you can really save a lot of time. And so, yes, you have a donut chart, kind of cool, but I think the magic is in this table where you can see the trend line that shows that this has been trending in the time period that you're looking at. And then you have all types of metadata that we track on the vulnerability. So these are all the different kinds of things that we look for: proof of concept, patched, yes or no. We even estimate the CVSS score if there's not one assigned yet. So that's about it.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for stepping in. I am back. So I'm going to steal the screen for a second, and I'll play the good cop now because I'm going to give away some free goodies to the audience here. First off, right, the vulnerability dashboard that Dave just very beautifully demonstrated. We already have an article here on how you can go ahead and start implementing it today, with some great examples on how to create some of these filters. So you don't have to try and come up with it. We've given you the logic, the filters that you need to be able to put this together now. For those that are not currently customers, right, we also have a CVE page that you can go ahead and get to. So Gabby's going to probably provide the links here in the chat. And you can actually search and get all the wonderful goodness that we provide here at Feedly, the summary, the impact, exploitation, and so whatnot from those CVE insight cards. And then finally, we also give a patch Tuesday report every month. I remember having to write these monthly, quite a pain. And so actually a good part about this one is that it is live and is updated as there are developments. So this isn't a singular static one-time report. You can always come back and check it out. As of right now, we're supporting Microsoft. And so you can go back and reference the previous ones there. And yep, thank you so much. And I'll pass it over to Denise.
I'm on mute. Thank you, Andy. And okay, so next I am going to talk about how the challenges around identifying threat actors and TTPs that are relevant to your industry. For background, I'm Denise. I'm a senior threat intelligence advisory at Feedly, and I've worked in cybersecurity and threat intelligence for the past 6 years. And before Feedly, I worked primarily in the financial industry. And one of the tasks that I was given a lot was to identify the threats that as a company in the financial industry we should be aware of that might attack us, and what are the techniques and procedures that they might use to attack us. This came a lot after maybe prominent attacks against the industry, against a company within the industry, or simply as part of my monthly intelligence report. Now, my slide here is very simple because designing is not my best skills, but hopefully I can show you how we can operationalize some of the Feedly products to identify the threat actors, the TTPs that are of interest to us to build an effective defense. So I'm going to steal the screen. Can everyone see my screen okay? Great. Alrighty. So in Feedly, we have this great product called the TTP dashboard that helps us collecting and identifying all the trending TTPs used by threat actors. Now we can add some filters here to tailor the dashboard results to the industries that we're interested in, the country that we're interested in, specific platforms, or even specific threat actors, malwares, and TTPs. Now, I've talked about the financial industry because that's where I worked before, so I'm just going to add our financial industry model in there. And in here now, I have the results for the most trending TTPs used against the financial industry in the last 7 days. So I get recent data in the context that matters to me. If I scroll down, I can start seeing all the TTPs as well as the threat actors and the malware associated with the use of those TTPs. And in here, I can quickly start identifying what are the threat actors that I want to be aware of. So I see a couple of names mentioned there more than once, like Alpha Spider and Lazarus Grip. And if I'm doing a threat actor profiling, I can access the insight card for those threat actors and get all the information that I need to know in terms of where they operate, how active they are, some of the industries and organizations that they target. We see that finance is at the top, and that's exactly what I wanted to know. If we scroll down below, we can also see the malware that they use. And again, one of the great things about Feedly that I love is the fact that all the information is pivotable. So if I want to know more about WannaCryptor malware tool, I can just click on it and open the insight card for the malware as well and get the information on the malware that I need on a very similar note. Organizations targeted, TTPs used, and in reverse, threat actors associated with them. But today I'm looking at tactics and techniques. Ooh, I probably want to move this. There we go. Today I'm looking at TTPs for the threat actors attacking my industries. And so I want to scroll below, and if I click here on see procedures, I can see, oh, well, again, proof that it's live. I can see the extract of the articles where the exact procedures used by these threat actors for the attack within my industry. And I like to use this product in combination with AI actions to neatly and clearly extract these procedures so that I can then use these procedures to build my defense. If I know who they are and how they attack me, I know how to defend myself. So I can access the articles here. And what I'm going to do to quickly analyze and extract this information from the article is save this article into one of my team boards. Now, I've already done this before. I already saved this particular article. I have this team board created for me. If it wasn't saved, all I needed to do is just click on save, and it would just be added to my team board. And I will do this for maybe 5, 6, or 10 articles. Now, I've already done this for the articles mentioned in this particular TTP, in this context, the last 7 days in the financial industry. So what I'm going to do is scroll down to my board, activate the AI actions, and select the last 5 articles, which are the one discussing the TTP in question. And there we go. And then I'm going to write a prompt to extract the threat actor using it, the malware being used, the technique, the procedure, and also IOCs if I want to pass that on to the SOC team. Now I've come prepared, so I've already written this prompt and I'm just going to paste it in here. And when I do that, all that information will be neatly displayed in a table as requested. So if you can't read with this size, I've written extract the procedures used by the threat actors to conduct the attack, place the results in a table and laid it out in the following columns. And then I just listed the columns with the columns title. And then I can go ahead and copy these results to add to my report, in addition with other information that I can get from the threat actors inside card. Or I can do it, or I can use this information to do some further investigation on the specific procedure followed by the threat actor, as well as passing on these IOCs to my SOC team to investigate and block if necessary. And this is me for how we can operationalize the TTP dashboard to identify threats relevant to my industry. And I'm going to pass it back to Dave now.
Yeah, good stuff, Denise. Unfortunately, you have to listen to me again. So, but the launch in this next section, I'll introduce myself real quick. I've been in CTI for about 15 years and was with the FBI for about half that time, the other half in private industry. I was former customer of Feedly and love the product, love the people, and that's why I'm here. So for this particular tip, we're going to look at analyzing geopolitical events. And this is something that, like, admittedly is not my strongest suit because, I mean, I do read the news, but it's hard to track everything by region. In the past, when I've had to respond to RFIs about covering geopolitical implications to a company doing something in some other place, I'd have to do a lot of research. It might take me 2 weeks. And it'd be a lot of Googling and understanding kind of what's going on in that region. So in the past, when I was with the FBI, I usually send things to a linguist who has that regional expertise. And so when you're on your own in a small team, it's a little bit different. So you might have to do some creative Googling, traditional RSS readers, for example. That's what I thought Feedly was at first, but then coming here and being a customer, there's a lot more that we can do with Feedly. So what if you're not a regional expert? How do you use Feedly to make this easier? Let me show you. So I'll take the share. So when you're dropped into Feedly, you're kind of plopped into this threat landscape page. And so from here, there's lots of things you can do. You can track different topics with AI feeds. You can use power search that looks in the past. And that's what I'm going to start off with is power search. And I'm actually really interested in, let's say, Assault Typhoon. Like, what are they doing? What's the geopolitical implications of the attacks that they're doing? So to do this with power search, it kind of looks across either all of your own curated Feedly content or across the web. You build it this way, you hit the magnifying glass, and this is looking in the past. AI feeds are kind of looking in the future. So we'll hit that, and then we'll do Salt Typhoon or Ghost Emperor. And you can see things coming through here. I'm going to switch to across the web to take advantage of some of our custom bundles that we have. We have a cybersecurity bundle. It has a lot of the top cybersecurity content. This is dynamic. We update this data source quite a bit. And we've got 91 articles. That's too much. Let's look for Ghost Emperor and cyber attacks. And cyber attacks is a super robust model that will look at all different kinds of attacks. Could be DDoS, could be maybe data exfil, that type of thing. So now we're down to 28. And I think that's good to start with. What we'll do too is maybe add top stories. So I only want to have the top stories related to this topic. So it brings it down to 14. So now you got a good data source. Then we could use AI actions, which is really, I mean, pretty amazing. It's able to take all the research that you're doing in Feedly and pass it to an LLM. that we have sort of optimized for doing this type of research. So we'll take in some of these ones, and then we can do some of these baked in prompts, but I have a custom prompt I want to use to analyze the geopolitical implications of what these guys are doing. So I'm actually going to go back into our website, and there's a site, or there's a page that talks about generating reports on geopolitical implications of cyber attacks. This is perfect. So we have these expert curated prompts that we try to publish and share. Josh, our colleague, put this together, so credit to him. And here's the prompt, and you could basically just copy and paste this in. See what happens. Demo gods, see if they like this today. So you can see with our expert curated content, we've got CTI experience. So we try to, shape the report like an analyst would like, using bluff, providing sufficient context, detailing the implications in different ways. And so you can see it's already done. We have a bottom line up front with the assessment, and we have quite a few things that we can draw on here. And the cool thing is everything is cited. So if you go back, you can click on any of these reference points, and this grounds the results in fact, which makes the analysis much stronger. All right, so that's one use case. I want to go to the next one really quick. And let's do something completely different. Let's, pretend we're looking at Russia and kind of the sort of rhetoric coming out of the government. And so what we can do is put together a folder just containing RSS feeds, for example. And these are sourced from a list that I put together on Russian state sources that are closely tied to the Russian state. And so some of these are in Russian, some of them are not, but it doesn't matter. With AI actions, it'll be able to parse those languages and give you results back in whatever language you want. So here I've got Russian media outlets here. I added these sources, and then I'm going to use a different prompt, which is actually a little bit shorter, but kind of cool. So I'm former FBI, so I hate putting this down, but I'm going to pretend to be a CIA analyst who's specialized in foreign influence operations. So that's what the CIA does. FBI is more domestic, but it's really cool because, oh, and of course, it didn't work too great. I'm going to go to top stories. With that article selection, didn't have a lot of Western media coverage, so I'm going to put it here instead. I'm going to put it in top stories, and that's stories that have at least where the topic is shared across 5 different publications. So now there's a lot more data on Russia talking about the West, and then this is basically doing a content analysis of the words and the phrases used in the articles. Super interesting. Even has a language analysis where it kind of picks apart some of the things that they mention about the West. So completely different ways of thinking about geopolitics, but hopefully this is kind of interesting for people to try out. And that's all I got.
Awesome, Dave. We're switching over to Carlo. He's going to talk about reporting.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so my name's Carlo. I'm a threat intelligence advisor at Feedly. I'm actually new to the team, only been here for a few months, but I have been in cybersecurity for the last 8 years with roles in threat intelligence, incident response, forensics, and even served my time in the trenches and the SOC. Now, during that time, I've written countless reports. I say countless, it's approximately 287 over the last few years. And as we all know, when it comes to writing reports, they're very time consuming. And I've tried to break it down into how I build a report and then how Feedly can help you build those reports and help you save a lot of time. So looking at this slide here, I've put sort of 5 steps here. So if you're building a report, of course, you're going to research it, research that topic. Then you then have to prepare your report. So who's the audience, and what topics you're going to cover, or how you're going to lay that out. And then, of course, populate that report with content as well. It's very important. And finally, add your citations, your sources, your links, your references. Everything needs to go in there. And then finally, your review and your publish. An average report, I think, when I was writing them, could take anywhere from an hour to 3 hours to write these up, depending on the topic. If you can go to the next slide, please. So how can Feedly help? One too far. Mainly those first 4 steps, probably the biggest chunk of the work. So your research, your preparation, your content and citations. A lot of work, a lot of effort goes into them to build out these reports. Now, I've chosen 3 reports at random here just to sort of give you an idea of what we can do with Feedly. Now, this is a great resource. I've stolen these from MITRE. They give you some templates to build out reports. Here I've got a less technical report, your executive report, and then maybe a slightly more technical one, the threat actor profile, and then a little bit more niche going into a campaign report. So let's jump over to Feedly. I'll take over the screen and I'll show you how we can do this. Okay. So that's the first one. It was an executive report. Okay, so it's a less technical group, and just say what they're looking for. And if you're an executive, maybe you're looking for just the brief rundown of the news for the week, what's important to you. So if you're using Feedly, you're collecting these articles, let's say your threat landscape, you're saving these articles to a board. And I've got an example set up here. I've actually got articles for threat intelligence already pre-saved. Now we need to send this information up to the executives. Quite easily, by using the AI actions, we can do it a couple of ways. We can create an executive summary of these articles. So I'm just going to click this here, and it'll build out the executive summary of everything that's going on that you can just send straight up to the less technical team. And see, it's all just populating as we go. And maybe if you need something more robust, we can actually just go straight into building a full report. So we've actually got a pre-built prompt, report overview, takeaways and recommendations. So I'm going to use that one. And it's just going to start populating at the bottom here. Now, as you can see, when it goes, it's adding these little URLs and then turn them into these little numbers. And this is your citations. So it's important to note about that is it's providing you the citations, the references for the information it's giving you. And if you want to verify that, if you want part of your review process, obviously you want to verify that information, you can actually just click into it and pivot your research or confirm that information is correct. So it's verifying the information as it goes. And as you see, it's highlighting some vulnerabilities here too. So it's even giving you the insight cards, more information if you need to expand further. So that's the executive report. That's pretty straightforward, nothing too technical, very easy. Now let's go to the next one, which is a threat actor report. So let's just say we're looking into a threat actor. I'm going to use Power Search for this one. So we have a bit more historical information. And just for this example, I'm going to grab the Lazarus group. So the Lazarus group, let's have a look at this and grab some articles published over the last 30 days. And again, we're going to use AI actions. So with the AI actions, I'm going to use the report functionality again. So I'm just going to grab that. And it's going to start populating. Here we go. So there we've got your executive summary, some key takeaways. Now, as it's going, it's adding the citations, it's highlighting some important points as it goes. But as I said before, this is maybe a more technical report. We don't have technical information in here. Now, if I look at the show prompt, it tells me what I'm building this report from. Let's expand it a little bit further. So I'm going to copy and paste that and add a couple of extra sections. So let's say IOCs, and we want those in a table. And let's add TTPs as well. Why not? And let's put them in a table. And then run that same prompt. It's analyzing Lazarus group. There's our executive summary, key takeaways, and there's our IOCs. being thrown into the table there for you. Again, it's adding the sources, it's providing the type and what the indicator is. So it's automatically understanding the information it's providing and put it into something that makes sense for you. There you go. That's a technical report written in a minute. Okay, and then finally we had the slightly more niche one, which was the campaign report. So let's do the same again. Let's go back to a power search, and I want a campaign report now. Dave just covered Russia, so let's go with China. Threat actors from China, and let's go back to AI actions. Now this one's a little bit more niche. I don't think we have anything for a campaign report. No, we don't. Okay, so let's just build it on the fly. Let's say, give me a campaign report for threat actors from Russia. And, let's give it a time frame as well. Oh, sorry, we're going China, aren't we, this time? China over 12 months. Okay. It's analyzing. There we go. There we go, starting to populate. So information on APTs, some malware will pop up in a second, I think. Tactics and techniques, obfuscation techniques. And there you go, a quick campaign report built. So that's 3 reports completed in about 3 minutes compared to the usual time it would take about 3 hours to complete one. There you have it. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Carlo. All right, so we did talk about 5 tips, but we're trying to give you more than you asked for, more than we promised. That's under promise, over deliver. That's the idea. So Aaron is going to talk through one more thing that comes up a lot, which is our API.
Great, thanks, Sean. Yeah, and honestly, really great questions coming through in the Q&A section. So thank you for everyone for attending and asking some really, really good questions in here. It's been really fun discussing. And as Carlo was mentioning a little bit with AI actions, saving time is really important to a lot of folks. And so I wanted to cover a couple of customer stories really quick, kind of a little aspirational of what you might be able to do with the API. Obviously, we've shown a lot of what you can do inside of Feedly. Just kind of be aware that most everything that we've shown today, you can also extract that same information via our API. So I just want to highlight a couple of customer stories. Number one from Secure Cyber Defense, who built a SOAR connector to automate and collect their threat intelligence with automated ticket creation from the Feedly intel that we were feeding to them, which reduced the analyst research time from hours to minutes for them and saved about 6 to 8 full-time analyst work. So really good result for that specific team. I really love working with those guys. And then also GISA, or GISA, I'm not sure how to pronounce that one. I apologize in advance. But they're using creating security reports for about 800 different clients. And they're getting their intel delivered 3 days faster than what they were doing previously through manual methods, using automatic ticketing via the API integration, and also some automated vulnerability monitoring to save about 20 hours per day worth of work. So some really good success and some really good stories. I'm just going to show really quickly how easy it is to work with the API. So I will go ahead and share my screen once again and show how you can cover the API. So with Feedly, number one, if you go to integrations and API, you'll see that we do have some pre-built connections to Anomaly, XSOR, Cyware, some other tools. We are adding more tools all the time as well. So typically what you'll see here is delivering a Stix 2.1 file to these different tools so that you can get the information from the articles into your tools for things like IOCs, TTPs, and all that rich, enriched relationship data as well will be brought through as well. So a lot of this is pre-built, takes like about 5 minutes to set up. But if there's something beyond this that you were looking to do, I can show you a little bit of how to get that information from our API. So if I scroll down here, what you'll see is that we have the Feedly API documentation here. So you can click there and go to our setup guide, which will bring up a interactive page so you can actually like interact with the API directly. What we'll do first is just generate an API key back in Feedly just to show how easy this is. If I go to manage team and go to the API and create a new token that we'll just call webinar. Right there, you can manage your own tokens. Obviously, I will delete this immediately after the webinar, but just wanted to show how easy this was to be able to collect. So from here, what I can do is toggle back to my API page. Again, this is live, so you can interact with it. So if I go to collect articles, which is one of our core endpoints here, I will just type in my credentials, which I just created. I prefer to work in Python, but we do have support for a lot of other languages here. And then we need to enter our query parameters. So what we're going to use is something called a stream ID, and that's basically just a folder or an AI feed of articles coming in. You could also choose a team board, but for this, we'll just choose my malware feed again, since we were working with that earlier. I go to my three dots for sharing, and I can see right here that we've already packaged that stream ID so that you can just copy it directly to your clipboard and paste it directly into the parameters. There are other parameters you can choose from. We don't need to dive into that here, but from here I can see that I've got my header, and if I hit try it, I will get a 200 result. Everything is packaged in a nice JSON format. You can dive into that a little bit more in our article data structures. So if you look at the article JSON, you'll see how everything is packaged. I find it to be really nice to compare this page directly with the articles in Feedly sometimes. So for instance, if I wanted to see specifically like this particular article, what does the JSON structure of this article look like? Here's a cool trick you can use when you're in Feedly. If you press and hold Shift on your keyboard and press D, that will actually toggle that JSON result or response and show you how that data is structured inside of Feedly. And then you can just compare what's on your screen here to what's in this area. So for instance, if I were looking for in this article, the TTPs, I go to, hey, how are they packaging TTPs? Oh, it's listed as entities MITRE ATT&CK. So I could maybe copy that particular thing here and paste into Feedly MITRE ATT&CK, and now I can see, okay, here's the text that was triggered. Here's how they found that particular TTP and how it was mapped. So from here, there's again a lot of automations that you can do and build out from inside of Feedly, including what we showed with these dashboards, with AI actions, pretty much everything we demonstrated today. You could extract that information via the API and kind of work with that data in any way that best fits your needs. So, again, a lot of what we do as threat intelligence advisors are work directly with customers to figure out, hey, what is your goal end state? And then how can we help support you getting to that goal end state? And for a lot of customers, the API is a path that is very viable. And we really enjoy working with those teams to help automate as much of the workflow as possible. So that said, thanks. I'll kick it back over to Sean. Sean, for some reason, I can't hear you. Can anybody else hear Sean?
Sorry, no,
There we
my
go.
fault. Yep, no, I have a double mic on this thing.
I
Double
got
mute. If you haven't been paying attention to the Q&A, there's a bunch of questions that have been answered in there. I think I can export those and put them so that you guys can see them all when I send out a report on with the webinar replay and the slides. People have asked for that. But if you have any questions, now just I'll keep this open for another minute or so if you want to ask a question. But other than that, there are a number of questions that have already been answered in the Q&A that might be worth doing a quick review for you. Is there anything in here that any of the CSMs want to address live?
There was one I'd like to. I know we talked a lot about bundles in Feedly and the cybersecurity bundle and a few of those features. If it's okay to share my screen real quick, I will show that you do have a lot of control over what is coming through with your AI feed. So for instance, if I just chose critical vulnerability and we'll just choose Microsoft again. As you see here, you do have these team feeds. So cybersecurity cybersecurity bundle we discussed, but when you see this checkbox for all team feeds, that includes any sources that your team may has added to your Feedly account, which you can control. To add a specific source, you would just go to this little kind of radio icon and type in the source that you want to bring into Feedly, and you can basically bring that into one of your folders so that you have even more control over the sources that are already there. So again, we try to package a lot of that in those bundles to make it easy. But if you want to have more control or ensure that certain sites are part of your search, you can do that very easily through adding your own feeds.
And that also works for any custom news sources that you want to add. Like in my example with the Russian state media, you can build your own bundle basically by creating a folder of all of your personal sites that you want to track. And then when you select all team feeds, then that content gets brought in to any AI feed, any search that you do.
All right, I don't see any new questions. There are a number that have been answered already. We will, I'll see if I can download all those and send them back so everybody has access to everything that was discussed today. If you have any more questions, you can always reach out to the TI advisors. I think there was a link to those, to the LinkedIn. And also, if you want to go out and do a trial, like I said, it's 7 days free trial. You don't have to talk to sales. If you want to extend that to 30 days, you can and get more of the features. So a couple features are not included in the full trial, but most of them are, but it gives you a good way. So just go out to feedly.com/threat-intelligence. I actually had it on this slide and it was posted in the link. But that's it. Thank you so much for joining, and tune in next month. We'll do another webinar. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Next day.